Welcome to Ballsy, the podcast where I interview successful artists and creators on how they got the balls to sell their art and turn their practice into a profitable business. As a former entrepreneur turned artist, I realized that being an artist is basically like running a small startup, and you, the artist, are the CEO. I talk to artists about their businesses, talk real numbers, growth hacks, tools and tricks, and how they were ballsy enough to make that their career. Okay, so welcome. So today on Ballsy, we have someone who's definitely had the balls to start selling his art. Marcus Aitken resides in London. In London?
Yeah, South London.
South London, okay. Welcome to the pod. So first, as I usually like to start out, just so people have some kind of points of reference, let's talk briefly about your style of work and kind of what kind of work you make, and then we'll dive into the business stuff thereafter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. But I am a gestural abstract artist. The works I'm making mostly on raw canvas at the moment. And the work's very intuitive, and I let my sort of guide me. And I don't plan paintings too much. I just let it happen. So that's what I'm doing.
I love you have a very specific abstract style. There's a lot of energy to it. I think really cool colored selections. Definitely worth taking a look. For those who want to keep up with looking at the art while we're chatting, what is the Instagram? That's the easiest way to kind of see it?
Yeah, so just Marcus Aitken _ and that's I keep stuff as most artists do, update on kind of what I'm doing, different projects. So yeah, it's definitely the best place to see it. I also have a newsletter as well, which you can get through on my website. Oh,
awesome. Actually, I've just signed up, so I look forward to reading it.
I saw that come through. Thank you.
So so usually the way I start these things, and it's the part that fascinates me the most, as we were talking about earlier, I'm a big believer. Everyone has this kind of vision and illusion of an artist. But at the end of the day, artists are business people, right? You have to, to go pro, you have to actually sell this stuff. And so the first thing I usually ask artists is, one, what did you do before you went pro? Most people start art as a side hustle somewhere, and somewhere along the lines, you're like, I think I can pull this off. And so what was that series of events in your life that kind of got you into art full time?
Yeah, I've done so many random jobs like every artist. I'm just thinking, do you know what? It actually started when I was really young. So when I don't even know, I guess in terms of like thinking of my art and selling art as like a actual business opportunity, I think I was like, I don't even know, 15 or something like that. And in the summer holidays, I was very bored and I enjoyed painting. So I started doing these like pop-art portraits of my friends. And then I was selling these terrible portraits back to their parents. So I guess that's when it started for me. But yeah, I guess
that is the best hustle I've ever heard.
yeah, it was good. It was good. These hopefully no one ever sees these portraits again, because one, they're nothing like what I do now, and two, they're absolutely terrible, I'm sure. But yeah, I guess like my journey, like most artists, I went to art school, I graduated, and then entered into the real big bad world and thought, what now? And then started working in a frozen yogurt shop. Awesome.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I did lots of things, loads of random jobs. Like I was a laborer on a building site. That was not a great job.
And
I don't know.
Were you making art while you were doing this, or were you just like you're doing it personally?
Yeah. So basically straight out of uni, I started a jewelry company because it was based at the time I was making sculptures, and it was based on the sculptures. And I thought, like, how can I monetize this, but still be creative and make something that is like tangible to what I was doing at uni? And I loved the creating side of it, but then I realized very quickly I hate the fashion world and it wasn't very creative, I found. So I stopped doing that. And yeah, I don't know, I was doing kind of various different creative things all whilst doing all these different random jobs. So I've always had a creative project on the go, but at that point I was making no money. To be honest, I was losing money just buying materials because no one was buying my work then.
So you're now making work. Did you find this particular style then, or were you still in your search for it phase?
No, yeah, not at all. I think, yeah. So after leaving, I was creating sculptures. Then I went into a bit of like set design stuff with these sculptures. Quickly realized that to have the studio space in London is very expensive, especially if you are making sculptures. And I quickly realized that I don't know if I can keep this up. And also it's just the space you need. I wouldn't be able to find it. So I kind of just started thinking about working flat again. And the colors that I was using at the time for the sculptures, they're like these high gloss pink sculptures and greens and stuff. Those colors are still concurrent in my practice now and what I'm doing, which is nice because for me, I can always see a nod back to where I started, although I was creating something entirely different. So yeah, there's definitely like ties to where it began to where I am now. But in terms of the actual paintings themselves, they've really changed. It's always been abstract, but the style has changed quite a lot. So I used to paint in oils, and it was mostly, I went through my blue period where I was kind of like purely painting in blue, which I don't do at all now. I don't really use much blue. And then it morphed into the colors that I was using back then for the sculptures. And I think my style, it's still developing now, as every artist does, but I think it's in the last few years more fixed, I would say.
Now, so you now stumble into this new style.
Yeah.
At some point, I assume it started like, how did you know that like this was, I assume like some of it is the market telling you that it's like people started buying your work. What did that progression look like? And at what point did you realize you could stop working at the frozen yogurt place and start doing art?
So it's an interesting story. So at the time I was working for an art consultancy. So I've always tried to get jobs within the arts, which is very difficult. I'm sure most artists will try to do that out of uni because you want to have your ear to the ground and understand what's happening in the art world. Luckily, I got a job as an art consultant putting together curations for mostly kind of corporate companies. And at the time, I was selling various different artists' work to a number of different companies in the city of London. And with my boss's permission, I said to him that, look, I'm painting. I've started doing this for the past year or so. I've picked it up again and I'd love to sell my work through the company, but obviously I can't sell my own work to the clients. So with his permission, I created a pseudonym of Max Perry.
Okay.
So along with the other artists, I was basically pitching my own work to these clients face to face without them knowing that these works were me.
They were so awkward at times.
Yeah, it was, but it was great because no other artist gets the opportunity. I'm sure some do in some ways to get brutal, honest, face-to-face feedback from people, because a lot of the time, I'm sure you can relate, people will say to you, ask you about your work, and more often than not, they'll be like, yeah, it's so great, I love it. And they won't give any kind of brutal, very honest feedback. So that was really useful for me. And it was great because
I always say there's nothing worse than it's nice.
Yeah.
Right? I'd rather love it or hate it. Like I struck some sort of emotional chord, but it's nice. Like it doesn't do it for me.
Exactly.
It's not, work isn't pushing someone far enough. Is usually the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's one way I always tell if something like I post a reel or whatever, or like an image on Instagram, which goes out to the wide world or whatever. And I always know if something's doing well because I'll start getting a few comments which people are like, "This is terrible" or whatever. And I'm like, I'm really happy that it's reached you.
So you're now selling as a pseudonym. You're selling, and did your work actually sell, or did you?
It did, yeah.
Did you push it more than everybody else did?
No, I didn't. I wait for the right things. I didn't want to be greedy, and it was for the right kind of spaces and stuff. But yeah, it did sell, and I actually still work with the same company, but now as my name, Marcus Aitken.